Welcome to Miss Win Checking In, the space where creativity meets healing. Here, we explore the path of mindful expression through the lens of writing, wellness, and soulful storytelling. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how are you feeling right now? If you're watching this on YouTube, drop an emoji in the comments to represent how you're feeling. And then let's check in at the end. Let's take a deep breath, tune in, and prepare to create from within. All right, it's Miss Win checking in, and we're back for another episode of the Miss Win Checking In podcast. Today, I have a special guest.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
Hello. If you don't mind, I know who you are, but if you don't mind introducing yourself to the guest, that would be great.
I don't mind at all. And thank you for having me, Miss Wynn, and checking in with me tonight. Thank you, everybody. My name is Raquel Masco. I am currently Transportation Options Mobility and Manager at Brazos Valley Center for Independent Living in Texas, and we work with people with disabilities, all ages, all types of disabilities. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've had for-profit, nonprofit organizations. I am a published author, an actor, director, and also have written some scripts, and I'm a mom. He's 28, but he's still my baby. And yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. I had just posted a Instagram reel, just kind of giving a behind the scenes, and I was like, I have been talking to this lady. I want to say it's been like 8 years. I met you when I was doing my Christian single mama brand, and we have stayed in touch.
We have. I thought about that last week. I was like, it's been probably moving towards 10 years since we've
Yeah,
connected, and it was social media, just
social media.
all social media.
And I've never met her in person, not yet, but because we're
Nope.
both in Texas, I said I'm gonna take her out to dinner. Mark my words, I still owe you dinner, so I'm gonna keep up with that.
Yes, we're in Texas. We can make it happen.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, I want to jump right into it because this podcast really is just about offering a perspective, whether it be different. I think that people are really hungry for solid information. It's so funny. Earlier today, I was talking to a coworker and she's like, Aurelia, these podcasts are getting boring. And I said, hold on, wait till April. Wait, give me a second. I got some good stuff coming for you. But I want to ask you, let's just, we're not gonna fool around. How has your creative practice, how has it influenced your emotional stability, especially right now with so much going on in the world? People's emotions are like at a roller coaster. But I feel like if you have a creative practice, that might help a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Using your gifts and talents, getting what's been given to you. That's what I believe. I know it's my God-given gifts and talents. Getting it out helps me, helps center me. It makes me me. When I don't do it, when I'm not creative, when I'm not flowing in a creative space or a creative way, I'm not the same. Like my mentality, my hormones don't even feel the same. So as an actor, being on stage, the first time I stepped on stage was life changing. Like it
Mm,
breathed life into me that I didn't know I needed. The next time it was a play that I did at church was transformative. It was like therapy. From then
mm,
on, the stage became therapy for me. Scripts and things I was acting out that I've been holding in, experiences, trauma, I was able to put into a character, act out, and then move
mm.
on from it. As an author, the book that I co-authored was about violence and trauma and us healing from it. That was cathartic. I
Mm.
went back, it was maybe a year after I had written that I actually read what I wrote. And I didn't even remember putting that
Wow.
stuff in there. That's how much I was like, I wrote that? How much? I
Yeah.
needed to get out, to be
Mm,
able to get the things out that are sitting in you and become toxic or ruminating thoughts, to be able to put it in a good place just for you, no matter how anybody else may receive it, is emotional stability. It is something that comes to you that just transforms you. I believe that.
yeah. Do you think that there are certain creative activities that are more therapeutic than others? If so, which ones and why?
Sure, and it's all subjective, right?
Mhm.
Whatever it is that is most passionate that reaches to you. And it could be a time thing, right? A time and a season, ages and
Mm.
stages. For, the younger me 20 years ago, what I needed then as a younger mom raising my son, what I needed then, what I needed was that stage. What I needed was to step into another person's mind. Do you know what that means? By
Mhm.
inhabiting a character, it's similar experiences and you can put your emotions, but it's not you. Like you
Mhm.
still are kind of outside of it so that you don't just fall apart. You can act these emotions out and then connect for me. And also singing, always music. Let me make sure I add that in there. Music for me, creativity, singing, always, all the time is my outlet. I say I don't have comfort food, I have comfort songs. I have
Oh,
comfort
that's good.
music. That's what gets me, back. If I don't have music, it's not the same. So I think for everybody, it is what is reaching you and helps you in the moment that you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so true. I want to say for me, writing is definitely a huge one. This podcast has been my first like creative venture in the last 5 months. Publicly. I've been writing and stuff like that behind the scenes because just for a while there, I was helping everybody else but myself on their creative journeys. And I said, how did I forget myself? And why am I getting sick? And why am I going? And it was, girl, because you're not writing. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how that even came to me. But since then, when that like unlocked for me, I had so many ideas. I had so many books. Me and my daughter have been working on books. I'm just like, you know what? This is actually what I need to do. There was a clip by Erica Badu who she said, creators have to create. Like we just have to. In order for us to be well, we have to be expressing our creativity in order to have that emotional stability. And I didn't understand it until that moment. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I actually have to do these things, or it's like I'm like off balance and it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. You are not the same and you don't even realize it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because you have a heart to help people, to help writers, to help publish, to help the unseen and, not always represented, to get
Mm-hmm.
out there and to help other people. So that was driving you and you just kind of forgot about you for a while, which is what we do.
Yeah.
Especially, as women and moms, right? It's usually we put others before us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but your mind, your heart, and your body said, no, we're still in here. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
We need you to be good so that you can be an even better publisher and advocate
Mhm.
and mentor.
Yeah. How do we find that balance? How about for you? I know kind of how I'm trying to do it now, but how about for you? Have you found the balance with just the demands for creativity and then rest?
Yeah, it is hard, right? Because most of us have to earn a living,
Mhm.
right? We hope for that day our money will be working for us and we don't have to put in, as many hours.
Mhm.
For me, I was like, what's balance? Is I decided, I needed to prioritize me and what that meant for me. And number one, I enjoy work. I love working. I've never seen it as a bad thing. People say don't work too hard, but I'm like, that's me. That's what I
Yeah.
do. If I'm not, I feel off. But I also have learned that I have to take time for me. I have to take time to step aside from this work, even advocacy and activism, because that too, your body starts to be like,
Mhm.
hello, you don't feel why am I in a funk? Why am I blue?
Mhm.
So for me, the balance came in being honest with myself about who I am, not others'
Mm.
expectations of who they think I should be. And I like to work. And then when the creativity comes in is when I set the time. And so I'm like, this is what I can do right now. So I can journal a little bit. Like I can take a writer's prompt or class that helps with creativity. I could
Mhm.
go do karaoke. I can immerse myself in some curriculum that I wrote for an acting workshop and remember that and maybe tweak it a little. So it
Mhm.
is finding the balance that works for you. There's no one size fits all.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I learned also recently just about balance. I think a lot of people think balance as 50-50. Like I got to split up my time equally, but for me balance is not it don't look like that. And I'm like
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm like balance for me means I'm doing a little bit of everything that I love. That's balance. As long as I have time for my family, I have time for work, I have time to do my publishing stuff, I have time to do a little bit of writing on my own. That's balance. If I'm not, and that for a lot of people, that might look like, oh, you have your hand in 5 or 6 pots. I like it that way. That's something that you just said, but I like it that way. I enjoy that. I enjoy it right now. I'm so grateful. I was telling my boss today, I said, hey, I love my job. Okay. And I always tell her, and she thinks it's so funny, but I'm like, I'm just loving life right now. I am so blessed. I get to do things that I enjoy and don't mind doing, even when because there's ups and downs to everything, whether you're working a job or not, you're working for yourself or not. There's seasons of up and downs, but I'm like, I just been loving it, and I'm like, this. I'm like, okay. I tell myself like this. I need to take a snapshot of this moment so I do not forget. So if I ever get to a place where I'm leaning too much into work or leaning too much into one thing or the other, and I could, because you'll start to feel like, oh man, I'm something's missing. It'll be like, oh, okay, because you took your hand out of that fifth pot and you're too much into this thing. And so it's like, okay, that's how I've created balance, and I'm okay with how my balance looks different from somebody else's.
Absolutely. Oh my God. It is. And you stop looking at other people's models and examples
Yeah.
because we're not them. And you stop feeling guilt or letting people make you think that you're not right because you do different things. I'm like, I've been given different gifts. I have all these things inside of me, but
Mm,
I'm supposed to suppress 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, I'm only supposed to do the one thing, but I have all of these things inside of me.
yeah.
It doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't drive me crazy. I'm
Hmm.
not right when I'm not doing it. I'm not
Yeah.
right when I'm not exploring all the facets and sides and dimensions of me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that there's other creative people out there that understand. I've seen, just scrolling on YouTube videos of, when you're a multifaceted creator, how do you manage? And for me, it's just about organization. As long as I could be halfway organized, I can make it shake, and that's something I said, okay, January, I'm working on getting my stuff organized and just execute it from there. And so for me, I feel like that's how I manage burnout. How about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And also burnout when I need, like I took my first ever cruise. Like I do try
Nice.
travel, but this first cruise was just to relax. And it really was the most relaxed I've ever felt. It probably was the
Mm,
most peaceful. Because as a single mom, if you're
mm,
not wealthy, what are you doing? I got to put this food on the table.
yeah.
Raising a young black boy in the United States of America, I gotta, you worry. There's concerns about
Mm,
your children of all ethnicities and races. You just have, Lord, don't eat that. Don't go outside. Don't cross the street. And then when you have those added pressures, it's just you have all these concerns and worries. And so you're not always relaxed and at peace,
mm-hmm.
you know. And knowing that my son is living his life and doing things that are apart from me in his own space, and he has his own creative space. He's doing some things on social media. Knowing that sets my mind at ease now. And so being
Mhm.
on that cruise is the most peaceful. I didn't do any work. I said no notifications, nothing's coming through my phone, no emails, no texts. It's just the time. And there was no guilt behind that. And,
Nice.
I was sad to see go, but when I was ready to go back to work, I'm ready. Let's get it. What we
Yeah.
doing? And, even we had a couple of snow days. I was grateful for it, but at the end of it,
Hmm.
Wednesday, I was like, all right, it's time to go back to work. Let's get it. That's who I am. It is not ignoring or being ashamed of all of who I am. I did it for
Hmm.
so long you dim your light, stuff
Yeah.
yourself down so nobody gets mad at you. So people don't think you're trying to be too much. But I
Hmm.
was like, I am too much. I was
Yeah.
made to be too much. I was made to bring light
Come
into the
on.
world. And
Hmm.
I'm not going to stuff it down anymore. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
appreciate
no, you're preaching. You are preaching to me because that's something. I'm 34 years old, and I'm like, dang, I'm finally getting it. I said, you know what? Maybe this is just who I am. And I sat with that for a little bit, and I said, heck yeah, that's just who I am, and I love it though. I'm like, well, those that matter, they do not mind. They do not mind, and they know, that it's just my heart. Yesterday I was not yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was doing another podcast with Fabs Trevizo, shout out to her. And we were talking about being our authentic selves. And I said, yeah, for a long time, I try to fit into this little box. One of the things that I've heard about myself for a long time is, Aurelia, you're kind of mean. I said, I don't know if I'm mean. I think I'm a little direct. And I said, I'm direct because I don't understand the passive aggressiveness. Because why would you have to be passive aggressive? How come you can't just say what you need to say? And God forbid I say it like that. Oh, now I'm really mean and I'm a bitch and all this. And I'm just like, and my friend said, maybe it's not that you're mean, but it's that you're shining the light on someone who would rather stay in the dark with
it.
whatever it is that you're being straightforward about. And I said, dang, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Man, that was a whole entire word. It is the truth. There's Southern hospitality and then denigrate you and dog you out behind your back, right?
Yeah.
There's
Mm-hmm.
bless your heart, you're so wonderful, so great, and then or
Right.
efforts to tear you down as I smile on your face. And it is true as women, we've always been taught to just be agreeable. That's how well you
Mm-hmm.
be a lady.
Mm-hmm.
Don't because if you rock the boat too much, for me, why aren't you smiling? How come you don't smile? Ask how many men they've been asked over their lifetime to smile.
Right.
Ask them,
Zero.
be
Not
cordial.
many.
No, be social. Now it's, you're too masculine, and I'm not. If you want to be masculine, great. I'm here for everybody.
Mm.
I consider myself a feminine woman.
Mm-hmm.
It looks different for me than other feminine women. But man, mm, that people don't want to be told the truth.
Mm-hmm.
People want you to just say what they want to hear because you're right. They don't want you to shine a light, and it's not that you're thinking you're perfect. It's just
Right.
you asked me, so I told you the truth. You wanted me to not tell you the truth? So that means you're not telling me the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
And
think.
yep. And that's something that my own 10-year-old, she came to the realization of that. She said, Mom, being honest is rude. I said, yeah, it can be also be in the way that you say it. She said, yeah, but even if you try to spruce it up a little bit, it's kind of rude to people. And she's like, I said, well, do you think that's why people lie? And she said, yeah, I think that's why people lie because they're trying to comfort the other person that they're talking to. And I said, well, that was the end of that discussion. I said, well, I ain't got nothing to say. Amen. I guess, girl, and she's 10. I said, yeah, we need to. I think that we all can agree on that sometimes being honest is rude. And sometimes we would prefer to be lied to, sometimes, especially when we're not ready to address whatever it is that's going on.
You just, man, that's a whole entire word. That's a whole conference and seminar right there. It is the truth. It is because that's what we've been taught, that being honest, is rude. And sometimes
Mhm.
you don't even say it with a tone.
Yeah.
Just saying no to people can be perceived as rude, right?
Mhm.
People, no, I'm not in a space to do that tonight. No, I don't really have time for that today. Not today.
Mhm.
People, she rude, but she just don't want to help. And you're like, no, I'm not able to do it
Yeah.
today. How is that rude? Because it wasn't what you wanted to hear. It didn't. And
Mhm.
we've had it for so long. People pleasing, wanting to be liked.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to be ostracized. Not really. Not from the people that you care about, especially, right?
Mhm.
So you just go along to get along until you can't really do that. And some of us, we're just born with that. I have friends who would there's no filter where
Mm.
it's not rude, but people perceive it that way. So I
Yeah.
think we need to get to a place where we can just tell each other the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, where it's like, what's that? I seen a meme where it says, learn to say no, and then on the other end it was learn to accept a no. Like we you can give the advice, always, because I hang out with a lot of encouragers. Really, I encourage you to do this. I advise, and I take the encouragement and the advice sometimes with a grain of salt. But I hear what they're saying. But sometimes it's like, sometimes I don't want the encouragement. I just want to be heard. And so I'm like, getting to that point where I'm telling my friends, hey, why don't you, when I'm saying something, why don't you ask if I want solutions, or if I just want to be heard, to listen to, if I just want space, right? And so I feel like I'm maturing a little bit to just tell my friends, especially those that I know love and care about me and will be there for me through thick and thin. It's just like, hey, you know what? Today I just need some space. No, I don't want your solutions. No, I don't really want your encouragement. I just want a little bit of space to feel what I'm going through. I'm gonna get through it. Y'all know who I am. Y'all know I'm gonna overcome this. But
Yeah.
today I just want some space. I just want to be in my pity party. No, I don't want your advice right now. Let's try again tomorrow. And so I've had to, and people will say, "Oh, be your authentic self," until my authentic self is a problem to them. And I'm like,
Right.
hang on,
Right.
are we gonna try and make this relationship work or not? Because if it's gonna be a problem, then man, I would hate to
Yeah.
carry on in this way.
No, that's powerful and so mature and healthy. And it's really what facilitates respect and reciprocity in relationships. You give people the space to do
Mhm.
that as well. I have a friend, who will say, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling down. She was feeling some kind of health issues. And she says, I'm not looking for medical advice. I just need to tell you because I love you. You're my circle and my friends, and I need to
Mm,
get this stuff out that I've been holding in, that I've been experiencing.
yeah,
It's been scary for me. Just need your support. We got you.
yeah,
Thank you for saying it. So,
mm,
because what you need to do, girl, is you get you an ice pack, you go to the doctor.
right.
You straight up is like, I don't know.
Start right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that, to me, it might not be as creative as writing or being an actor and those things, but it's still a good way to move towards that emotional stability. And so I kind of want to get back to that. I know we went a little bit left, but that's
We
okay.
did.
I'm enjoying it.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, in what ways do you think creative expression can serve as a tool for emotional healing?
In what way? I think going back to no longer holding those toxic things and traumatic things in.
Hmm.
No longer harboring, no longer having to sit in your own self-imposed silence. We
Hmm.
could maybe tell somebody, but we don't. We do hold so much in. And sometimes we don't even take things, if you're a prayer, sometimes you don't even take it there. It's just sitting
Hmm.
to get it out, that tool that you have vocalized and given it air, and it didn't destroy you.
Hmm.
Getting that out in a creative space because it's something you love and it is something that's inside of you. Connecting all of that is transformative, is what does it. You're not sitting in those hard feelings, those emotionally charged feelings anymore.
Yeah.
You've given it out.
Yeah. Well, I think you've answered this question already, but let me go ahead and ask it. What advice then would you give to creatives who struggle with emotional instability?
I would say first, I would say, oh, about to give you, that is advice because that's what we're doing here, is to make sure everything is okay physically first. Make sure
Hmm.
whatever you need medically, make sure all of that's good. Seek any help that you need. Now, on the creative part is to remember things that you've always liked to do. You've always been drawn to writing. You've been drawn to improv, comedy. You've always been the kind of person that even when it's tough, you can make other people laugh. You can kind of find some humor in things that you find. Remember those things and then tap into that. Don't try to be anybody else. What is it that really drives you? What is it that you've done in the past that you do every now and then that makes you feel better? And it's tapped into your creativity, that creative bone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. But something I think we need to step back. What does emotional instability look like? Because for me, I was taught that being angry, being sad, being these anything opposite of joy was almost emotional instability. And I'm like, this feels like I'm human though. I'm human, so I can be angry. I can be all of these negative emotions. And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering what would be your definition then of emotional instability? What does that look like or what does that feel like?
Yeah, that's really good. It is the truth that we are just smile all the time,
Hmm.
that we misconstrue some things. Sometimes scriptures is that anger, heartache, all of those things are human emotions. We come with. You just come.
Hmm.
The first thing you do is cry when you come here. You're hungry, you cry. That's an emotion. If
Yeah.
you're sad as a kid, and then we tell kids, and then we grow up with that. Don't cry, don't be
Right.
that.
Stop crying.
Yep,
Yeah.
don't be weak. Suck it up.
Hmm.
And so we're confused about our own emotions. We don't know how
Mm.
to give it a name, and that it's okay to feel them. So I think first, absolutely, I should say, give yourself grace and self-compassion to feel what you feel.
Hmm.
Yeah, emotional instability is where I start to feel like two different people
Mm.
and war within myself. Do you know what I mean? Where my moods are fluctuating. I'm sad, I'm up, I'm down. I can't even pinpoint who I am really. Where
Mm.
I've just lost some focus and some center. It's less tied to emotion, that kind of emotion like anger, and it's more tied into what's really deep down and going on inside of you.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think of have I been there? I've been there for sure. I think for me, it looks like being scattered. I remember
Mhm.
really vaguely telling a friend I was working on my business or something I was trying to do, and I said, "Man, I just feel really scattered right now. Like I just could not figure out what was going on." But later on, I got it. He said, "Well, maybe you're doing too much or something." I don't know what was the key there, what snapped me out of it. But listening to you talk, yeah, I can see how that was emotional instability. And maybe it was from not working on what I love to do. I'm also an author. And for a long time, I'm like, dang, I don't know if anybody knows that I'm an author. Well, I write and publish books like and I might not talk about it. And so I'm like, man, I need to start talking about my own author journey as well so people can understand. Look,
Yes.
I'm not just here to help you publish books, but I'm also here to publish my own stuff because that's how I got into this in the first place is I wanted to be an author. And now here I am. And so anyways, so it was like
Yes.
let you like you said, what is it that you enjoy doing as a child? And then oftentimes we have, even in therapy, they say, okay, well, what was, your childhood trauma? It impacts you as an adult. But I found that even in my healing and growing journey, getting back to the things that I loved as a child is also really helping me.
Yes. Yes.
Especially the creative things that I loved. I love to draw. I love to paint. I do those things with my daughter now. I'm like, I love to write. I love to talk. Boy, I could talk my ass off. Okay. And here we are. Okay. And so I'm like, I'm getting back to doing the things that I love. And I'm like, okay, that's why I'm in this place today. That's why I feel so good. I'm like, oh man, let me remember this, because life happens. We could just get caught up in the cycle of life, but it's like, man, when I really sit and take time to point out these things, it's like, okay, I'm okay. I'm in a good place. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's powerful. It is the truth that you remember that all of these things didn't just pop up. It's always been a part of you. It's
Mm,
always been there. It's always been inside of you. Now, as an
yeah.
adult, you get to manage and navigate and say, this is how I want this to go. This is
Mm,
what I want to experience in my life is this joy. And that's what child not traumas come in. But before they do, children are carefree, and we hope that trauma never, but
hmm.
experiences come in and can steal that from us for a time.
Yeah.
But you're running, it's recess. Let's go out and play. Your friends, you're doing your hair, whatever you
Hmm.
like, climbing the trees, where it's just carefree, where you're writing and drawing. Nobody's told you not to draw. Nobody's told you you're not really great. Nobody stuffed something out of you. When I
Yeah.
was 9, was I 9? Was it third grade? Maybe it was fifth grade. I just remember it was grade school. And
Hmm.
we had to do these sort of aptitude tests. What kind of career? A test that would say what kind of career we'd be in. And we did
Hmm.
that. And for me, I remember putting in there and saying to my teacher at the time, I just want to be an actor and a singer. That's what I wanted to do as a kid.
Wow.
My aptitude, the test said doctor, lawyer, but I'm like,
Oh,
mm-mm.
wow.
I just want to go be on a stage and have a mic. That's what
Yeah.
my Head Start teachers, I went to work as a Head Start home visitor. My
Mm,
bosses then remembered me because they were my Head Start teachers and friends of my mom. They remembered me. They said all you used to do would play dress up. You would play dress up in the mirror and you
mm.
would, like you were holding an award. I remember
Wow.
doing that. Like my Oscar speech, my Emmy speech, my Tony
Yeah.
Award speech. They said I would do that. I would dress up, make characters. My grandma would put me on a pallet when I was a baby and my mom went to back to work. I would just play with myself. And I know I invented a world. That's the seeds of what I've always wanted to do and that I've been able to do, in my adult life. You get back to that. It's not anything that just popped up for you. You're not trying to copy anyone else. It's what's always been deep down inside of you that you came into this world with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like that's what, authenticity is. One of the things that I said a couple years ago, I said, not only do I want to heal, I said, but more so I want to have perfect health, I want to have perfect wealth, and I want to have perfect self-expression. And perfect is just my standard. Whatever my standard is, that's what I want to meet, and that's perfect. I know people say there's no such thing as perfect in my world. I have a standard that when I meet that standard, that's perfect. And so for me, it was like, okay, kind of like you said, well, what is it that I want to express? Who am I? Who am I really outside of, those traumatic experiences? As someone who was diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder, I'm like, shoot, I got stories of trauma all day long, up and down the yin yang. But I'm like, who am I outside of that?
Mhm.
And what can I share outside of that? And so for me, this podcast was kind of born out of that reflection because, I started to work on a book where I do share about kind of my trauma. And I said, dang, that's not a story I want to continue to tell. I want to tell how I overcome that. Yeah, I can allude to the trauma, but I don't know if I really want to get off into that. I don't want to keep telling that story. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I feel like I've been able to move. on in life, not by so much just letting that story go or forgetting it, but not allowing it to be a priority in my life. I don't want to be known as, well, Aurelia, she was a domestic violence victim and not like, that's fine. People might say that, but I want to be known as, man, this girl, she has accomplished so much. Aurelia win, checking in, win-win situation. Like that's what I want to be known as, And so I feel like as a creative person, we have that opportunity to do that, to not only be our authentic self, but to also kind of be in charge of what people say about us through just the stories that we even share about ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. You get to say, you get to, put those words on paper of your life. You get to say, and nobody else outside of you. It is the honest truth. But it's so hard because people are so loud and so
Mhm.
chatty so much, because it's easier for me to focus on Aurelia and Raquel than my own stuff, right? I
Yeah.
can pick you apart. But I'm not gonna do too much self-reflection. And it keeps you here, right?
Mhm.
In a certain place. If I can keep you in a box, I don't have to do too much rising, or I can't let her get too high and high above me. And we're not even thinking like that. You're like, I'm
Yeah.
not thinking I'm trying to be better than anybody else. I'm just trying to be me.
Yeah.
And when you get to a place, also when you are healed, when you have overcome that trauma, when
Mhm.
you can look at it from here, it's back there.
Yeah.
Man, that was that girl. That was that woman. I'm here now. And it's not the same. You don't have the same tears. I
Mhm.
can't play the same character. I remember I played Benita in A Raisin in the Sun on stage. Man,
Wow.
everything I needed, and we talked about, doing that again, a revival of that. I'm like, I can't play Benny again. I'd have to play Ruth or Mom or something because I
Mhm.
got everything out with that.
Wow.
Played Mary Magdalene in church, and it was a play called The Messiah we did at my church.
Mhm.
I was like, I am Mary Magdalene. I connected. I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
That role, that part was cathartic and therapeutic and put me on a path to healing. And I
Mhm.
can't play her anymore. I can't go back there anymore. I could help somebody else. I could be a mentor for a young actor who wanted to do it, but I can't because I've done it.
Mhm.
Need to go back there. It's been done. Let's
Yeah.
move.
Wow. So that brings up a good point then. Just how your creativity and the way that you express it changes over time, especially when you're on a healing journey and you're growing. It changes. Can we speak some more to that? Can you speak some more to that part?
Absolutely. I think some of the most dangerous things, and sometimes it comes up in songs. I'll always be that same chick you fell in love with. How? I'm not the
Hmm.
same person I was 2 years ago.
Wow.
How are you not changing? It doesn't mean I became a monster. It means I evolved. I
Yeah.
knew things about myself all the time. And if I'm not incorporating that, if I'm not living up to that, that's a problem. You
Yeah.
change your hair. You don't wear the same outfits. Some of us might, styles come back, but most likely you're not wearing the outfits you wore 10 years ago, right? You're
Hmm.
not that same person. Losing weight, gaining weight, all those things transform us. So your clothes fit different.
Hmm.
Obviously, your emotional, your and personality, all those things evolve too. You grow up.
Yeah.
A lot of times in my 20s, I was an unhealed person. I
Hmm.
was living and walking in all the things that went unchecked that I didn't even realize needed to be checked and healed. You're just moving. I didn't realize that all those things impacted me. And so that's the space I was living in. I'm not the same person here at 52. If I am, that's a problem. So I
Hmm.
can't be the same. My music should be evolving. It should be more mature. It should
Hmm.
come from a healed space. I think that's why sometimes, we see musical artists trying to go back to something that worked in the beginning that made them famous and it doesn't land
Right.
because their fan base is more mature,
Mhm.
right? They're not the same. Their tastes have evolved, and so have yours. So then it
Mhm.
becomes, I need to just start doing what I'm feeling on the inside. It's
Yeah.
scary, but you have to. And it will reach people. At least
Mhm.
it'll reach you. You won't feel stagnant or like you're failing because you haven't failed yourself.
Yeah. 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 Woo, that is true. That is so true. And it'll reach somebody, even if that somebody is just yourself. That is so true.
Yeah.
I love this show. I think it's called The Interview with the Vampire. It was on
Yes.
I forget what it's on. It might be on Max or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the behind the scenes, they were talking about how the book, the author who first started out writing it, how she worked on, I think it was like first two books or something like that, took a break for a couple of years, came back, and then did the last book in the series. And they said how different her writing was from the first two books, and then the last one was completely different. And I was like, wow, okay, but now that we're talking about it, it's coming back to me like, I'm sure if I was to look at some of my old stuff, especially with my first book was more, it was called Who Am I? A Christian Single Mom, something about the way God sees us or something. And now I'm like, I'm writing metaphysical type stuff. I've moved on past, worrying about what people have to say about me, especially people in the church about me being a single mom. And that was a whole thing that I had to work through. Church hurt,
Yeah.
which I won't get off into that too much, but that was my story. But even then, my creativity has changed from who I was 10 years ago when I started that to today. And I'm like, okay, for me, like these creative activities and expressing myself creatively in writing or had it been like a painting or something, I love it because you can go back and look at how far you've come. Like, dang, 10 years ago, I was trying
Yeah.
to convince people that I still love God, even though I had sex outside of marriage and had a baby from it. Like,
Right.
I no longer care. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't care about that perspective anymore. I've grown and things have changed, but just to have that physical evidence to my for myself has been helpful. I had a cousin who said, forget your feelings sometimes. Look at the facts. Look at the facts. Look at how much you've accomplished in whatever amount of time and really understand that you're okay. Everything's okay. You're changing, you're growing, but that's normal.
Right. Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
we should be worried if we are the exact same person. We have the exact same voice from 10 years ago or when we
Mm,
were experiencing or right out of the trauma, then we should be concerned. That
yeah.
is concerning. Nothing's changed. You haven't healed. You're the exact same person. That's worrisome. That's
Mm,
you should check in with yourself and do some real reflection. There's no way I had my baby at 24. I wasn't the same from 22. I couldn't be because I had another
mm,
mouth to feed. So that grows you, and you have this capacity for love that you didn't know. You
yeah.
love another person like you never thought you could. And for people who say they're called by the name of the Lord to hate on you, to ridicule you, make you feel like trash, is despicable to me and so outside of the God you profess to know. I
Mm,
don't need any criticism from you. I don't need any hate from you. How does this help me when
yeah.
I know to be true? If I say I believe, then the Lord is still singing over me. He still
Mm,
wakes me up and say, I love you. You're
mm,
still mine. And then all the ridicule, are you saying that this human being that I brought into this world is not valid? And you can put all of those things into
mm,
your creative work. That helps you be more empathetic with the
mm,
things you've been through, the healing, all of that matures your voice, matures your writing. So now you can connect with different people. You expand your life and your
Mm,
horizons, your territory, for sure.
yeah. What about the people who say, well, for them being the same is instability? Like, well, you know what you're getting. I'm the same. I'm stable. Like, what about those people? What about those people? Yeah.
I would say, how are you exactly the same?
Hmm.
How is that possible? Are
Hmm.
you saying you think the exact same way? And how does that work for you? How does that show up in your life? Because even at
Hmm.
24, I wasn't fully mature. I'm still probably some people might think I need to grow up. I think, you know what I'm saying? At 18, you're the exact same as at 52. Nothing
Wow.
has changed. None of your experiences have brightened, have colored, have matured you, made you more empathetic, made you
Hmm.
stronger. You're the exact same. You're not even stronger. You're not any more read, learned. Nope. Haven't learned a thing. Know the exact same.
Wow.
How is that possible? How is that a thing? It's
Right.
okay to say that, yeah, man, I've evolved.
Mm.
I'm still a good-hearted person, I know. But
Yeah.
you're not that same person. There's no way.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 You brought up a good point because, yeah, God forbid I still be doing the same things that I was doing when I was 18 or 20 or whatever. Oh my God. Ooh,
Look,
that
I'm
means you
like, I
don't
would
learn? Are you incapable of learning? What's going on? Did somebody enable you to be the same all your life and you just grow up to be a man child? I mean, or a woman child, whatever you know, that and
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's almost possible in some cases, but I
Yeah.
don't know. But and that's maybe that's that emotional instability is you don't grow. You're stuck at
Yeah.
some point in your life, maybe because of trauma, maybe because of choice, maybe because of it could be a number of things. But I'm always curious about that when I'm like, dang, one of the authors I work with, Condelany, she wrote a book called "Excuse Me, Your Unhealed is Showing," and in the book
Ooh.
she talks a lot about man, I could see you're unhealed because golly, like
Yeah.
and I'd be like, sometimes I'd be like, ooh, I wonder if, my unhealed be showing sometimes, or sometimes I definitely can see where people, I'm like, golly, you need some healing right there. But it
Yes.
makes you empathetic. It makes you give people a little bit more grace because I'm like, dang, I remember some times where, heck yeah, I was mean, but by the grace of God and just the grace and kindness of other people that were around me, I made it through that. And so it's like, okay, I can see where some people are like, "Ooh, you're a little unhealed right there, but you know what? I'm gonna give you some grace and just go on about my way."
Yeah, yeah, where I know I could pop off really easily. I was quiet in school, and most people who knew me when I was younger will say quiet, book smart, bookworm, nerd, whatever. But out of school, I could be a hothead. I remember
Mm,
popping people. I remember wanting to fight, and as a young, out and about as a young adult, still being a bit of a hothead, I remember things that I did. I don't do that now.
yeah.
If you think you're the same, then that's foolishness, right?
Mm,
You didn't grow up at all. You still fighting people. And I'll come back to how is that serving you? Is it
yeah.
really serving you? You have to change and evolve. Your body changes
Yeah.
no matter what. So everything in here changes. Our brains, the logic part of our brains, the science that I've read and learned comes in at 25. We're still like,
Hmm.
emotion, everything's the end of the world, just, going in the world. 25 is when logic, when it's really like it's supposed to mature in here. So
Hmm.
if you're still that emotional person before your brain got logic, how is it serving you? How is it serving your creativity? How is it affecting your writing?
Yeah.
Is it effective? Is it doing what you want it to do? Is it giving you the results that you're seeking? if you're
Yeah.
the exact same person you've always been.
Wow. Wow. And we could drop it on that note. I want to propose a question to the audience who's listening and just let us know in the comments. How is where you are in life serving you? Whether you've grown or whether you choose to still be the same. How is that serving you? How is that serving your creative expression? Let us know. This is a safe space, no judgment, none of that. But
Absolutely.
chime in and let us know. Anything else that you have to share? This was really good.
It was, and I knew it would be. So I appreciate you for letting me be on, and I'm so excited for you and the path that you're on, and I'm so happy to be able to support you. And I will say to everybody, there's no judgment, but also be willing to let people on the outside look in. If you are in a creative space, a
Mm-hmm.
writing cohort, any kind of thing where you've given people access to you,
Yeah.
let them have the access.
Yeah.
If they're saying it's still the same, it's the same story, the same characters. I'm not seeing growth, and I know what you are capable of. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
you that you could do that. Let people that you trust, that truly know and care about you, speak into your life. Lean into who you really are. Without shame
Mm-hmm.
about it. You love to act, you love to write, and sometimes you just have to keep it to yourself for a while and just move in it. Soak up all the joy that you get from that. Keep it to yourself for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're ready to share it because you have to. You have to give it light because then you do everybody, yourself and the world, a disservice. You will reach somebody and
Mm-hmm.
you will feel this healing and this peace in you that you can't find outside of yourself. Everything that's been given to you is on purpose. Don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah. And hey, that's the word of the day. That's the word of the day. Well, thank you so much and thank you all for listening. We'll be back with another episode of Miss Win checking in coming soon. Good night. That's it for today's check in. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, hit that subscribe or follow button, and let's keep growing together. Hey, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, drop your after emoji in the comments and tell me what shifted for you. I'll see you next time on Miss Win Checking In, where creativity is a pathway to wellness.